is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Welcome to the MorganMan Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Stacy Cole Morgan. Here on the MorganMan Sports Podcast, we talk Atlanta Falcons news, pre-game predictions, and all other news surrounding the Atlanta Falcons.
Touchdown, Atlanta!
Also on the podcast, we talk Call of Duty League, esports, covering Roster Mania, major predictions, COD champs, player trades, and much more to get you ready for every single CDL weekend.
Scuff goes through, and Scuff snaps, wins the one-on-one in optic with the reverse sweep.
If that sounds good with you, put on your Falcons jersey, grab your gaming headset, and let's get this show started. What is going on, you guys? I'm your host, Stacy Cole Morgan, and you are listening to the MorganMan Sports Podcast here on Spotify, Google Podcasts, GoodPod HQ, or wherever you find your preferred podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about the red-hot Atlanta Falcons hosting the Seattle Seahawks this Sunday, October 20th at 1 p.m. Eastern in the Benz in Atlanta, Georgia. Guys, we're going to get straight into things right here with my good friend from the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network, Kevin Wilson. He's senior writer and fantasy sports head here at Belly Up. So he couldn't make it on today's podcast episode, either it being like me interviewing him or him just sending an audio clip. He's got a lot of things going on right now. So I told him if he just wants to send in some text, that's fine. I'll read it out for him here on the podcast and still give him a shout out like we had originally planned. So Kevin, this is for you, man. Shout out to you as well. All the socials will be down in the description for you guys to check him out from the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network. So Kevin puts, in quote, the Seattle Seahawks head to Atlanta to take on the Falcons Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Seattle comes in 3-3, but have lost their last 3 games. Atlanta is 4-2, having won their last 3. The Seahawks offense ranks 7th overall, a surprising 1st in passing, and a disappointing 29th in rushing. On defense, they rank 19th overall, 10th against the pass, and 27th against the run. On the other side, Atlanta 8th overall in offense, 21st in passing, 6th in rushing, and on defense, they rank 17th overall, 9th in passing, and 25th in rushing. Quarterback Geno Smith has a touchdown pass in every game, but no games with multiple touchdowns. He's thrown 5 interceptions in his last 4 games and has over 50 passes in 2 of his last 3 games. He also has 4 games in which he's been sacked 3 times or more. To be successful, his number of passes has to come down, and the running game needs to kick it up a notch. This is especially true given how good the Falcons' D is against the pass and how poor they are against the run. Kenneth Walker had 103 and 80 yards rushing in his first 2 games, but just 51 yards and a single touchdown in his last 2. Walker has to be the Seahawks' breakout player, or it could be a long day for Seattle. He needs over 100 yards minimum for Seattle to have a chance. In the last 3, Seattle is scoring at a 24.3 average and giving up a whopping 35.6 points. Atlanta, during their win streak, is averaging 33.3 points and giving up 24.6. Predicted score for Kevin Wilson is 31, Seattle 24. So he is having Atlanta favored in this matchup. And of course, Kevin does plug in his podcast right here. You can catch my fantasy football stats and sits articles every Friday, as well as my other articles on the Belly Up Fantasy website. So guys, shout out to Kevin right there. Definitely some great insights on the Seattle side of things. And of course, he did talk highly upon the Atlanta Falcons right there, and even putting them to win this game right here. Atlanta 31, Seattle 24. Man, that's a really huge compliment. So basically by a touchdown is where he's having Atlanta win this one at. So again, Kevin, shout out to you. And guys, for Twitter or X, however you want to call it, you can find him at Kevin26Willsey. And of course, that will be all in the description below for you guys to check that out. So again, shout out to Kevin Wilson, senior writer and fantasy sports at Belly Up Sports Media Network. So yes, guys, like you said, the stats are undeniable right here for Seattle and Atlanta. This total matchup, the Seahawks offense versus the Falcons defense. So, like I said, offense for Seattle is sitting 7th, first in passing, and a sloppy 29th in rushing. So the Falcons could have a field day against the run game, but it's going to have basically their toes up is what I'm trying to say against this number 1 ranked passing offense. But hey, that's why we got a lockdown corner and safety and Justin Simmons, Jesse Bates, AJ Terrell, all them guys. Because we are the 6th best passing defense in the National Football League. And when it comes to the Falcons offense is 8th overall, 6th with passing, and 21st while running the ball. So Bijan and Tyler Allgeier should have a good day right here, like they did against the Carolina Panthers, because the Seahawks run defense is only 27th overall in the National Football League. So the Falcons do have a slightly better defensive line when it comes against that run game. For passing, the Falcons are 6th in the National Football League while passing the ball, and the Seahawks are 11th against the pass. So looking at that scenario right there, Kirk Cousins has really got to watch out for certain players, because with it being the 11th best passing defense, there's bound to be interceptions and deflected balls. Not saying that it could happen or it won't happen or whatever, but still, even with us being the 6th best team in the National Football League passing the ball, you still got to be careful, especially with the Seahawks defense being the 11th best against the pass. And guys, I am going to agree with Kevin on this one. I do think Atlanta is going to win this one 31-24. That's my score prediction as well. And if you do want to get into all the Vegas game odds and everything right here, Atlanta is favored to win this game by a touchdown, -3. But the public is actually taking Seattle at the +3 at a 63% public bet. And then the money line, people are taking Atlanta at the -161 at an 86% public bet. People are going over on the 51 score prediction at a 74% public bet. So I'm interested to see how the Falcons and Seahawks game does play out this weekend. That's my phone keep going off if you are hearing that. But yes, I'm interested to see how things work out this weekend for the Atlanta Falcons and Seattle Seahawks. It's going to be an interesting one because the Falcons have a chance to go 5-2 this weekend, but also Seattle has a chance to get above 500 this weekend as well. So there's multiple scenarios right here. We're already entering in kind of like late October, as you really want to call it. So, and then the Falcons, again, this is where we really start kind of getting to know what the teams look like, is late October and all of November. Because if you start winning in late October and all in November, your team is legit. You are going to the playoffs. And that's not been the case for the Falcons for the past, 4, 5, 6 years, right in there. And then once we're out of the playoffs, hell, we play like a playoff team. I don't get that. So, but that's the thing with Raheem Morris, Terry Fontenot, and all these guys, Kirk Cousins as well. They're changing the culture of how Atlanta goes about playing football. Don't stop being a competitive team And then of all of a sudden, when you're out of the playoffs, you start actually play like a dominant team like you're supposed to have been all season long. That's changing. And I really feel like Raheem Morris has definitely emphasized that to these players. Look, guys, we're playing dominant all season long. Regardless if we make the playoffs or not, we're playing dominant all season long. And they're playing dominant right now, and it's showing. Yes, those 2 losses against the Steelers, it was a close one. Kansas City, it was a close one. Now, granted, the Kansas City one, a little questionable, but still, regardless, at the end of the day, the Atlanta Falcons played those 2 teams very close and tight. Very close and tight. If we would have had scored 1 more touchdown in that Steelers game, we'd be 5-1 right now at the time this recorded. And if it wasn't for some questionable offensive mistakes with Zach Robinson during that Kansas City game, guys, we'd be 6-0. We would be 6-0 right now. Number 1 in the NFC division conference altogether. We'd be number 1. No team would touch us. But hey, again, yes, those 2 losses do sting. But you got to look at the positive. We played them close. So we are a legit and competitive football team. And thank God the schedule got easy, because now you're looking at the Dallas Cowboys in a couple weeks. They suck. New Orleans Saints, they suck. The only team that we have to worry about is the Buccaneers. The only team we have to worry about is the Buccaneers. And actually, we get cracks at them next week. Yeah, in Tampa at 1 p.m. on Fox. But still, even if we lose against the Bucs, I hope we don't, because I'd love to sweep the entire division right here. But let's just say if we don't win against the Bucs, so we tie with the Bucs, we could still win the South. Winning against the Saints, sweeping them, and sweeping the Carolina Panthers in week 17 or 18. That would be our golden ticket right there to the playoffs. Win the division by pretty much going 5-1 in your division in the NFC South. And of course, you do want to have a very great NFC conference record, like going up against the Cowboys, Vikings, Giants, Commanders, and Panthers. Because now the rest of our schedule is pretty much, outside after getting done with the Saints, is a lot of AFC teams. Broncos, Chargers, Raiders. So we really need to step up our game in that category as well as non-conference and start getting those wins, because that's what's ultimately going to lead the Atlanta Falcons to a number 1 seed overall in the National Football League for the NFC Conference and host a home field advantage throughout the entire playoffs and get a bye week. Now, I granted, yes, I understand some people are against a bye week. I totally get that. But I think the Falcons would definitely benefit from it. I really do think so. And coming in fresh, while the other teams, yes, they have a little bit more momentum, but they're going to be more banged up than the Atlanta Falcons are. That's just me telling the truth right there. So, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves right here, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I'm daydreaming. 4-2, Atlanta Falcons win the Super Bowl right now. But let's take it one game at a time. Again, the Seahawks, I think we will win against them. The Seahawks have definitely been called onto by a lot of teams. And the Falcons right now are finding success until that next loss. And after that, they really just got to sit back, readjust, and go on another 4-game win streak. So, but guys, sure hope you did enjoy. Again, thank you, Kevin Wilson, fantasy sports writer, and Everything else at Belly Up Sports Media Network. All the credentials will be linked down below for you guys to check Kevin Wilson out at Belly Up. But guys, until then, I, Cole Morgan, and Kevin will catch you all later. Peace.
Thank you for listening to this Belly Up Sports Podcast Network product. Some said we go belly up, so we made it our name, and we're still here.